Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, Story 21.
We are immersing ourselves in this really fascinating, deeply layered narrative from the classical Chinese text Liao Zi. Specifically, a volume containing the account of a man named Wang Lan.
But for the purposes of our exploration today, we're going to treat this specific text as a factual, historical account of a highly unusual, entirely supernatural sequence of events.
Which is really the only way to do it.
It is. Treating it as a factual account is the only way to truly dissect the mechanics at play here. Because this narrative challenges every sanitized, modernized assumption we hold about how the universe operates behind the curtain.
It really asks a deeply unsettling question. Like, if the powers that govern life and death are just as flawed, just as prone to making silly clerical errors as, say, your local Department of Motor Vehicles, where does that leave humanity?
It leaves us in a very precarious spot.
Okay, let's unpack this.
But to understand how a mortal man ends up as a wealthy, immensely powerful ghost immortal, we cannot start with a grand spiritual awakening.
No, we definitely cannot.
We have to start with how he died. Or, more accurately, how he was absolutely not supposed to die.
Right, so let's head to the region of Lijian and examine what has to be the ultimate bureaucratic blunder. Our central figure is Wang Lan,
Yes.
and the text tells us he dies of a sudden illness. There's no prolonged suffering, no dramatic final words to his family.
Just a rapid, unexpected end to a very mundane mortal life.
Boom, dead. But the complication arises almost immediately upon his soul's arrival in the underworld. The King of Hell, presiding over his domain, decides to review Wang Lan's case file.
It's an audit, basically, an audit of a soul.
And it's a post-mortem audit that uncovers a massive, system-wide failure. The King of Hell discovers that Wang Lan's death was literally a clerical error.
The text is so specific with its terminology here, too. It states that this was the mistake of a ghost soldier who, quote, mistakenly hooked the wrong soul.
Okay, we need to pause on that phrase, mistakenly hooked.
It's so evocative.
It is, because it implies that death in this universe isn't some abstract fading away. It isn't a biological switch just flipping it off.
No, it's a highly physical, manual labor process.
Exactly. Carried out by low-level, presumably exhausted employees of the underworld who are literally walking around the mortal realm with hooks.
Snagging souls out of bodies like they're fishing in a muddy pond.
And this particular ghost soldier just hooked the wrong fish.
The framing here completely dismantles the idea of an omniscient, infallible, divine realm. I mean, the underworld is depicted as a vast, grinding bureaucracy.
Yeah, it has a rigid chain of command.
It has overflowing case files, it mandates internal audits, and most importantly, it relies on incompetent, entry-level employees who mess up their daily assignments.
Just like any big corporation. So the King of Hell catches the mistake and immediately issues an executive order. He says, return Wang Lan to life. Put the soul back.
Which sounds great on paper.
Right. The boss caught the error. He's issuing a refund on this man's death. Justice is served, supposedly.
The intention is definitely there, but the execution hits a severe biological wall.
Oh, a massive wall.
When the ghost soldier drags Wang Lan's soul back up to the mortal realm to, reinstate him into his physical body, they discover that too much time has passed navigating all that underworld red tape.
Bureaucracy moves slowly.
Too slowly. The physical body has already decayed. It is no longer a viable, habitable vessel for a human soul.
The hardware is completely corrupted, and you just cannot upload the software back into it.
That's a great way to put it.
I try to imagine the sheer panic of this ghost soldier. He's standing there in the mortal realm, staring at a rotting corpse, holding onto a very confused, wrongfully deceased soul.
Realizing he has botched the original job and now he has completely botched the fix.
The narrative explicitly states that the ghost is terrified of being punished by his superiors, doesn't it?
It does. And this is the inciting incident of our entire story. It is driven not by destiny or fate, but entirely by employee panic.
Employee panic, I love that.
He has created an absolute human resources nightmare for the underworld. He knows that if he returns to the King of Hell and reports that the restoration order failed because he was too slow, his punishment will be severe.
Yeah, he's getting fired, or worse, thrown into some pit of fire.
Exactly. So he has to problem solve his way out of this before his boss finds out.
This is just such a wild scenario. It is the supernatural equivalent of a hospital accidentally removing your healthy kidney, realizing their mistake, and saying, well, we can't put it back because we already threw it in the incinerator.
Right. Oops.
But how about we give you the ability to fly so you don't file a medical malpractice lawsuit?
That is exactly what this is.
Yeah.
The ghost soldier has to settle this out of court. He has to pitch Wang Lan on a compromise, and the pitch he delivers is honestly a masterclass in philosophical manipulation.
Absolutely. Tell him what he says.
So the ghost turns to Wang Lan, who is presumably traumatized by looking at his own decaying body, and offers this justification. He says, quote, "Being a ghost is bitter, but being a ghost immortal is joyful. If you are joyful, why do you need to be alive?"
That is an unbelievable leap of logic.
I know, right?
I mean, he is completely glossing over the fact that he just murdered a man through sheer incompetence.
It is a massive leap, but it is highly effective rhetoric. The ghost is fundamentally reframing the concept of existence.
Yeah, he's gaslighting him.
He really is. He is taking the catastrophic loss of Wang's mortal life, his ability to eat warm food, feel the sun, hold his children, and dismissing all of it as completely unnecessary as long as Wang can achieve a state of joy.
He is stripping immortality of all its usual grand spiritual weight. I mean, in almost every global tradition, becoming an immortal is the result of lifetimes of grueling meditation.
Balancing karma, extreme asceticism, achieving absolute moral purity.
Yes, but in this chaotic back office of an afterlife, immortality is just a pragmatic, under-the-table settlement for a wrongful death claim.
It's a bribe.
It's a bribe. The ghost is basically saying, look, life is overrated anyway. I can get you an upgrade. You'll be a ghost, sure, but you'll be an immortal ghost. You'll be happy. What's the point of a heartbeat if you're happy?
And surprisingly, Wang Lan agrees to this logic. He accepts the terms of the settlement.
See, I have to push back on Wang's thought process here.
Yeah.
Like, is he being too easily manipulated? He just got killed by this guy's spectacular incompetence. And now he's trusting that very same incompetent employee to grant him eternal joy.
It sounds bad when you put it that way, but you have to consider Wang's complete lack of leverage in this moment.
I guess that's true.
He has no physical body to return to. If he rejects the ghost's offer, what are his actual options?
Fade away into nothing.
Essentially, yeah. He likely faces the bitter existence of a standard, powerless, wandering ghost, slowly fading into nothingness. Or he has to go back down and face the underworld bureaucracy again.
And that bureaucracy has already proven it cannot handle his paperwork correctly.
Exactly. The ghost soldier is offering a third door, an escape from the system entirely.
Okay, so they shake on it. The cosmic lawsuit is officially dropped. Wang is promised a life of joy and immortality. But wait, a low-level ghost soldier who operates a soul hook doesn't actually have the authority or the power to grant immortality, do they?
No, absolutely not.
He can't just stamp a form in triplicate and make Wang a god. So where is he getting this power?
He doesn't have it. He has to acquire that power from an external source. Basically, he has to steal it.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
It really does, because this pivot takes us from a story of bureaucratic error straight into a supernatural heist.
A literal heist.
Yes. The ghost guides Wang away from his home, away from his decayed body, and they travel to an empty, towering mansion. The text describes it as having grand pavilions, but it is completely quiet, entirely devoid of human life.
It sets this incredibly eerie cinematic stage. You can almost feel the temperature drop just reading about it.
In this silent courtyard, bathed in intense moonlight, they find a fox. But this is not an ordinary animal. This fox is actively practicing ancient alchemy.
Right, it's doing magic.
It is sitting, looking up at the night sky, and with a deep, deliberate breath, it exhales, and a glowing golden pill emerges from its mouth.
Wow.
The pill flies straight up into the air, interacting directly with the moonlight, and then as the fox inhales, the pill drops back down, and the fox catches it in its mouth.
That is such a striking image.
Over and over again, it is cycling this golden elixir between its own internal energy and the lunar energy of the moon.
The mechanics of immortality in this universe are fascinating because they are so tactile.
Yeah.
Like, immortality here isn't a state of mind.
No, it's not enlightenment.
It isn't a vibration or a higher frequency of consciousness. It is a physical, ingestible object.
Yeah.
A golden pill.
Tangible magic.
Yeah, and it requires this bizarre rhythmic physics to charge it up, almost like a supernatural battery, but powered by moonlight.
This scene touches on a deep vein of Taoist folklore, actually, where creatures, often foxes, spend centuries cultivating a nidin, which is an internal elixir of life.
Centuries.
Yes, through absorbing yin and yang energies from the environment. The fox has clearly spent an immense amount of time and grueling effort cultivating this golden pill. The text explicitly says, quote, "A fox's golden pill is complete here."
Which implies it's done, the work is finished.
Exactly. It implies a long, arduous process of spiritual refinement that the fox has undertaken to perfect this physical manifestation of his power.
And this panicked ghost soldier is about to completely bypass centuries of the fox's hard work.
Yep. The ghost hides in the shadows of the pavilion with Wang, quietly watching this delicate, sacred process. He calculates the timing. He waits for the exact fraction of a second when the fox exhales and the pill is suspended in the air, disconnected from the fox's body.
And then
Then he lunges. He violently snatches the pill right out of the air. He turns to Wang Lan, who is likely completely bewildered by this sudden escalation, and forces him to swallow it.
he practically shoves this glowing lunar battery down Wang's throat.
Pretty much.
And the ghost explains that by swallowing this specific object, Wang's soul will not scatter. That is the physical mechanism of his new immortality.
Right. Usually without a body, a soul eventually dissipates, its atoms losing their charge and fading into the void. But this pill binds the essence together permanently, allowing Wang to exist endlessly and do whatever he pleases.
But I cannot get over how transactional and thuggish this entire sequence is.
Oh, it is entirely devoid of the nobility we usually associate with the attainment of eternal life.
Totally devoid of it. You have this majestic, ancient fox performing sacred lunar alchemy in a ruined mansion, and these two guys just jump out of the bushes and steal its life's work.
It's really sad for the fox, honestly.
There's no epic clash of magic wands, no grand battle of wills between light and dark. It is a mugging.
A supernatural mugging.
They literally rolled a creature for its most valuable possession, except the possession happens to be eternal life.
But look at how the text describes the fox's reaction, because it perfectly underscores the gritty, pragmatic nature of this universe.
Right. What does it do?
Well, the fox is shocked. It is incredibly angry. The spiritual energy it has cultivated over lifetimes has just been stolen in a fraction of a second, but it does not attack them.
Wait, why not?
Hmm?
If someone stole my centuries in the making immortality battery, I would be furious. I would tear them apart.
Because the fox calculates the odds. The text says it sees two entities standing there, Wang Lan and the ghost soldier. It assesses the situation, realizes it is outnumbered 2-1, decides it probably cannot win a physical confrontation against two spirits, and leaves in resentment.
It backs down from an asymmetric conflict.
Yep.
The supernatural world here operates on the exact same logic as a rough neighborhood. If you're outnumbered, you swallow your pride and you walk away. Even if you are a magical fox who just got robbed of godhood, it completely demystifies the supernatural.
It grounds the supernatural in a very cold reality. The acquisition of immortality is reduced to opportunism and petty theft. The ghost soldier has successfully covered up his clerical error by robbing a third party. The HR nightmare is resolved, completely off the books.
The ultimate cover-up. The ghost soldier dusts off his hands, says, "My job here is done. You are joyful now," and presumably heads back to the underworld to file his falsified paperwork.
Leaving Wang Lan standing there alone in the moonlight.
Right, so Wang is now immortal. His soul will never scatter. He can exist forever. But what do you actually do on day one of eternity?
That is the big question.
He does what most of us would probably do when faced with a massive life change. He goes home. But here is the friction. Immortality, especially when you are invisible, legally dead, and have no physical body to interact with the world, does not pay the bills.
It certainly does not.
Which leads us to a very unusual career change and what I can only describe as a supernatural buddy cop dynamic.
It's exactly like a buddy cop dynamic. So, Wang returns to his family home in Lijin. As you can imagine, his wife and children are initially terrified. The text notes they retreat in fear.
Well, yeah, he is a ghost after all.
Right, an apparition of their recently deceased patriarch appearing in the house. But Wang calmly explains the entire bizarre sequence of events to them. He details the wrongful death, the incompetent ghost soldier, the decaying body, the ruined mansion, and the stolen fox pill.
That's a lot to drop on your family on a Tuesday.
It is. But slowly, the fear dissipates. They gather around him. They realize it is still fundamentally him. His personality remains intact.
And they just domesticate the supernatural.
They do. The narrative tells us that from that point on, Wang sleeps and lives in the house just like he did when he was alive. It is a remarkable normalization of a terrifying concept.
It really is.
He is a ghost immortal of being powered by lunar magic, yet he is just hanging out in the living room, participating in family life as best he can.
Which is charming, but it poses a massive logistical problem for Wang. because he is alive, sort of, but he cannot interact with society normally. He cannot farm, he cannot trade, he cannot hold a tangible job to support his family.
He's invisible to everyone else.
Right. So enter his friend, Zhang.
Zhang is a local friend who hears the bizarre village rumors that Wang is somehow back, and he comes to the house to check on him. They greet each other, and the text notes they, quote, exchanged warm and cool remarks.
I love that phrase.
Which is a beautiful way of describing normal, everyday small talk about the weather and life between friends. Just casual conversation, except one of them happens to be an immortal spirit. And during this chat, Wang pivots to business.
He delivers the pitch.
He says to Zhang, "You and I have been poor our whole lives. I now have a method to make us rich. Will you travel with me?"
And Zhang, without skipping a single beat, agrees.
The text uses the phrase "way," which translates to a very compliant, immediate yes.
Zhang is instantly on board. Like, you're a ghost now. Cool. We're going to get rich. Even cooler.
Wang then explains the mechanics of their proposed partnership. He reveals the true extent of the abilities granted by the fox's golden pill. He says, "I can heal without medicine, and I can divine the future without divination."
He possesses profound, reality-bending supernatural powers now.
He does. However, he explains his core limitation. He tells Zhang, "If I reveal myself physically, people who know I am a ghost will be terrified and think I am a monster."
So he needs a physical anchor, a front man.
Exactly. He asks Zhang, "Can I attach myself to you and travel?" He needs Zhang to be the mortal representative that people can see, speak to, and most importantly, hand money to. And again, Zhang just says, yes.
Yes, let's dissect this dynamic because it is brilliant, but also slightly disturbing from an ethical standpoint.
Highly questionable ethics.
Wang realizes that his invisible immortal status is highly marketable. In a world with limited medical technology, being able to cure any disease instantly is the ultimate service.
It's a monopoly waiting to happen.
But he lacks a user-friendly interface for the living world. You cannot hand a heavy bag of gold to thin air.
No, you cannot.
You cannot negotiate a complex contract with a disembodied voice. Zhang is brought in purely as the face of the operation. If we use a modern analogy, Zhang is the sleek user interface of an app. Wang is the complex back-end programming doing all the actual heavy lifting in the dark.
It is a perfectly symbiotic business model. But Zhang's instant compliance is fascinating, isn't it? He is agreeing to front a highly lucrative medical practice where he personally possesses absolutely zero medical skills.
This is where I have to question Zhang's passive morality.
Yeah, he doesn't even push back.
He just says yes to essentially becoming a fraudster. To the outside world, Zhang is going to present himself as a miracle doctor. He is going to be taking the immense credit, the social reverence, and the massive piles of cash for things he has zero power over.
He's living a total lie.
Imagine your deceased best friend shows up in your living room, proves they are a ghost, and says, "Hey, I have magic powers now. Let's go run a medical scam in the next province where I do the magic invisibly and you take all the cash and the glory."
It's a tough offer to turn down, honestly.
Do you say no, or do you pack your bags?
It highlights a deep, grounding pragmatism in both characters. Poverty is the driving force here. Wang specifically brings up their shared history of crushing poverty as the ultimate justification for this scheme.
Right, we've been poor our whole lives.
The abstract morality of deceiving the public about who is actually performing the healing is entirely eclipsed by the concrete opportunity for generational wealth.
They don't even hesitate. They pack their bags that very day and head to the borders of Shaanxi province. They are taking their supernatural startup on the road, and their unique business model immediately encounters its first massive, high-stakes test.
They don't start small with curing a fever or a broken bone, either.
Nope, they walk right into a baffling medical mystery.
In Shaanxi, they encounter a very wealthy, prominent family facing an absolute tragedy. The rich man's cherished daughter has fallen completely comatose from a sudden, mysterious illness.
Awful.
The text describes her condition vividly. She is dizzy, her eyes are closed tight, and she is entirely unresponsive to the world around her. The family has exhausted all traditional medical avenues. Every doctor, every herbalist, every specialist has failed to wake her.
The desperation in that household must be at its absolute peak.
Which means the price for a cure is also at its peak. The wealthy father, out of options, offers a staggering reward. 1,000 pieces of gold for anyone who can cure his daughter.
1,000 pieces of gold. To put that in context, this isn't just a large fee, this is kingdom-building wealth.
This is exactly the kind of high-yield target Wang and Zhang were looking for.
Their first big client.
So Zhang, playing his role as the arrogant miracle worker perfectly, steps up to the wealthy man's house and publicly boasts of his unparalleled skills.
He's really leaning into the persona.
He is. The father, desperate and willing to try anything, agrees to let him examine the girl. Zhang goes into the daughter's room, he pulls back the blankets, touches her body, and she remains completely unconscious.
I mean, Zhang has no idea what he's doing, obviously.
Yeah, not at all.
He is just touching a comatose girl and waiting for his invisible earpiece, essentially, to tell him what the diagnosis is.
Right, and Wang, who is standing right there invisibly, investigates the situation using his newly acquired supernatural perception. He doesn't look at her breathing or check her pulse, he looks at her metaphysical state.
What does he see?
He whispers to Zhang, "Her soul is gone. We must find it."
That diagnosis is chilling. Her soul is gone. It completely bypasses biology.
Zhang relays this terrifying information to the father. He says, "I don't need to prescribe any medicine. Your daughter's soul has left this place. I have already sent my spirit out to go find it."
Wow. He is really putting on a magnificent theatrical show for the client.
He is a natural showman, and then they wait. About an hour passes in tense silence. Suddenly, Wang returns to the room. He whispers to Zhang, "I have it."
Just like that.
Zhang asks the father to come back to the bedside. Zhang touches the girl one more time, and miraculously, she stretches, opens her eyes, and wakes up as if from a deep sleep.
The father's overjoyed, obviously. But here is where the story gives us a glimpse into the terrifying, predatory reality of this universe. Because the girl wakes up and immediately explains to her family where she was. She explains her coma. And it is not a medical event.
It's not medical at all.
And
She recounts what she perceived as a dream. She says she was outside playing in a garden when she saw a young man, a youth, armed with a slingshot, shooting at birds.
Okay, a random guy with a slingshot.
He had several tough-looking servants behind him leading fine horses. She was frightened by this aggressive group and tried to run away, but they moved to block her path.
Just bullying her.
The youth started teasing her, aggressively trying to hand her his bow. When she scolded him and told him to back off, he didn't apologize. He just grabbed her, pulled her violently onto his horse, and rode off with her.
He just abducted her.
Yeah.
In broad daylight, but happening entirely in the spiritual realm, while her physical body collapsed into a coma in the real world.
She says they rode for miles and miles deep into the mountains. She was screaming, crying, and cursing at him the entire way. Eventually, the youth got so angry and annoyed at her constant resistance that he just pushed her off the horse onto the side of a desolate mountain road,
Just dumped her there.
leaving her stranded in the middle of nowhere with no idea how to get back to her body.
And that is exactly when Wang Lan showed up.
Exactly. She says that as she was sitting there weeping by the road, suddenly someone grabbed her arm and began running with her at a terrifying lightning speed. In an instant, she was back home and she opened her eyes in her own bed.
What does this deeply unsettling sequence tell us about the nature of illnesses in this universe? Like, if we extrapolate from this event, a coma isn't a brain injury.
No, it's not physical.
It isn't a severe viral infection shutting down the nervous system. It is literally a kidnapping of the soul by rogue predatory entities.
That youth with the slingshot wasn't some grand demon lord of the underworld either.
Right.
He was just an entitled aristocratic rogue operating entirely outside celestial law who decided to steal a girl's soul for fun because he liked how she looked.
It radically redefines the concept of healing and medicine. Healing in this world isn't about biology or balancing bodily humors or administering the correct herbs. It is a kinetic, physical rescue mission in a parallel dimension.
To cure a patient, you have to physically track down their displaced soul, fight off or evade whoever took it, and drag it back to the physical body before the body decays.
Much like the decay that ruined Wang Lan's own chances of resurrection.
Exactly the same mechanic.
Imagine lying in a hospital bed with a severe fever, and the reality is that you aren't sick. Your actual essence, your consciousness, is being physically dragged into a shadowy mountain range by a gang of supernatural thugs.
It's terrifying.
You are a hostage in a parallel dimension. And this highlights Wang Lan's immense, terrifying utility in his new immortal state. He isn't just a ghost who can walk through walls. He is a highly effective, supernatural bounty hunter.
The golden pill gives him the speed, the power, and the perception to traverse that hostile dimension, locate a stolen asset, in this case, a human soul, and physically retrieve it.
The rescue mission is a massive, undeniable success. The girl is awake and healthy, the father is thrilled beyond words, and the payout is exactly what was promised. 1,000 pieces of solid gold.
But Moving that much physical wealth creates a massive logistical nightmare for a ghost and a mortal traveling on foot.
This brings us to a really fascinating detail about the intersection of the spiritual realm and the material realm. The rich man pays the 1,000 gold. Wang and Zhang sit down in private to divide the massive profits. They decide to keep 200 gold pieces on hand for their immediate travel and living expenses.
Which is still a significant, heavy amount of money to carry around in pouches.
For sure. But the remaining 800 gold pieces pose a severe security and transport problem. I mean, how do you transport a literal treasure chest safely across the country when you are just two guys on the road?
You'd get robbed in a second.
Exactly. So Wang decides to use his immortal abilities for logistics. He magically transports the entire bulk of the gold across the country. The text tells us he goes directly to his own home in Lijian, knocks on his son's door in the dead of night, and delivers his family's share of the fortune.
Supernatural FedEx.
Pretty much. Then he takes 300 pieces and delivers them to Zhang's family. He completes this massive cross-country delivery in a single night and returns to Zhang in Shaanxi by the next morning.
The wealthy father, their client, is completely amazed when they depart the next morning because he sees that they are leaving town without carrying the massive, heavy chests of gold he just handed them the day before.
Right, it's just gone.
To the father, it just adds to Zhang's mystique as a terrifyingly powerful sorcerer who can make gold vanish into thin air.
I want to focus on the concept of supernatural economics here, because it reveals a lot about Wang's psychology.
Oh, yeah.
Wang Lan has swallowed a lunar battery. He is completely immune to death. His soul will never scatter. He can travel vast geographic distances in the blink of an eye. He operates in the spiritual realm, physically wrestling souls away from kidnappers. And yet, despite all this cosmic power, he is deeply, profoundly invested in the material capitalist realm.
His transcendence is entirely physical, not psychological or social. He has achieved immortality, but his primary driving concern remains securing generational wealth for his mortal family.
He is using divine, moon-powered magic to act as a highly efficient, incredibly secure, armored car service.
It is brilliant, but it is so fundamentally human.
Right. I theorize that Wang, despite his immortality, hasn't detached from worldly desires at all. In Buddhist or Taoist traditions, achieving enlightenment means letting go of earthly attachments. Wang hasn't let go of anything.
He's arguably holding on tighter.
Yeah, he wants his kids to be rich. He wants his friends' family to be comfortable. He just found a supernatural cheat code to fulfill those very mortal desires.
And their system is flawless. They have established the ultimate medical monopoly. They have zero overhead costs, a perfect success rate, and instantaneous secure money transfers that bypass all bandits and tax collectors.
It is the perfect grift.
It is perfect, right up until they run into a variable that cannot be controlled.
And there's always one.
Someone who embodies the absolute worst, most chaotic elements of human nature. A man who cannot be managed by ghost logic, who cannot be reasoned with, and who is about to throw a massive wrench into their perfect money-making machine. Enter Hikai.
Hikai. As Zhang is traveling on the road just outside of town, he bumps into this man named Hikai. Hikai is a fellow townsman from their home region of Lijian. But the text is very clear about Hikai's character, painting a really grim picture.
Very grim.
He has completely ruined his life through chronic drinking and degenerate gambling. He aggressively refuses to work, and his level of poverty is described as being, quote, like a beggar.
He is a parasite.
Yes, and this parasite has heard the rumors floating back to their hometown. He knows Zhang has acquired some bizarre supernatural skill, cured a prominent family, and is making endless amounts of money. So Hikai tracks him down on the road and essentially demands a cut of the profits.
He wants in on the action, or at least he wants a significant handout of the cash.
Now, Wang, who is invisibly observing this entire interaction, gives Zhang some very pragmatic, cold advice. Wang assesses Hikai's character instantly and accurately. He whispers to Zhang, Hikai is crazy and rebellious. You cannot associate with him.
Wang sees right through the beggar's pleas immediately.
He does. But what is interesting is that Wang does not suggest they use his incredible magic to punish Hikai.
That's a key point.
He doesn't say, I'll appear as a terrifying phantom and scare him away, or I'll strike him down with lunar energy. Instead, Wang advises Zhang to simply bribe the man to leave.
Wang uses a specific proverb here. He says, indulging a disaster is still shallow, meaning pay him off right now to minimize the damage he can cause. A small, immediate financial bribe is a shallow disaster compared to the deep structural disaster of letting a chaotic addict stick around and attach himself to your business.
It is a very calculated, almost clinical assessment of risk.
It reveals a fascinating limit of immortal power in this universe, too. I mean, even a ghost immortal recognizes that a toxic, addicted human being is a chaotic force of nature that cannot be reasoned with, and more importantly, shouldn't be engaged with magically.
Hikai is an agent of pure chaos.
Exactly. Wang understands that you don't fight chaos with magic, you pay it to go away. Hush money is a more effective tool than supernatural force in this specific scenario.
So Zhang listens to the immortal back-end operator initially. He hands Hikai 100 gold pieces, a fortune for a destitute beggar. It should be enough to set him up for life if he is smart.
But the text tells us exactly what happens when you give vast wealth to someone without the wisdom to manage it. Hikai does not change his ways. He takes the 100 pieces of gold and blows through every single coin in 10 days.
10 days. That is a staggering rate of consumption.
He spends it entirely on wild gambling and continuous drinking. And predictably, once the money is completely gone and the hangover sets in, his first thought is to find Zhang again to get a refill.
And this is where I have to point out Zhang's staggering, almost fatal naivety. When Hikai returns, looking for another handout, Zhang doesn't follow Wang's advice anymore.
No, he abandons the plan.
Wang had clearly stated this man is a deep disaster. But Zhang, perhaps feeling some misguided hometown loyalty or just possessing a foolish savior complex, actually gives the parasite more money.
He doesn't just give him a few coins either. He gives him everything he has on hand. He empties his travel bags.
It's so frustrating.
And Zhang makes this incredibly naive, conditional promise to Hikai. He says, I know you will just waste this, but if you truly promise to change your ways and reform, I will give you another 100 gold.
Which is exactly what an addict wants to hear.
Hikai, of course, displaying the classic behavior of an addict looking for a fix, immediately says, yes, I promise, I will change, and Zhang just hands the fortune over.
It is infuriating to read. Zhang completely ignores Wang's previous, highly accurate assessment of Hikai's character. He falls for the empty promise. And this terrible judgment, this blind enabling of Hikai's addiction, directly triggers a chaotic and deadly chain reaction.
It's the turning point of the whole text.
Zhang's misplaced generosity is the catalyst for the entire disastrous back half of this story.
Because Hikai takes this new windfall of gold, and he escalates his destructive behavior. He has another 100 gold in his pouch, and the text explicitly notes that his gambling becomes, quote, even more heroic.
Heroic gambling.
He starts visiting high-end brothels, throwing money around like Bert. He is a known beggar who suddenly has the reckless spending habits of a wealthy emperor.
Which obviously draws the attention of the authorities.
Exactly. In any society, but especially in this era, a known destitute beggar suddenly flaunting vast amounts of unexplained gold is going to raise massive red flags.
Big one.
The local police, referred to as the catchers, become highly suspicious. They assume, quite logically, that he must have stolen it or murdered someone for it. They arrest Hikai and drag him before the local magistrate for interrogation.
And the justice system in this historical setting is not gentle. They don't just reading his rights and ask for a bank statement.
Oh no, it is brutal, physical, and immediate. Hikai is subjected to severe judicial torture to extract a confession. The text describes the torture as cruel and tragic. Under this extreme physical duress, Hikai breaks completely.
Anyone would.
He confesses exactly where he got the gold. He tells the authorities that Zhang gave it to him.
So now, because of his own foolish generosity, Zhang is implicated in whatever crimes the authorities think Hikai committed. Or at the very least, Zhang is now a primary person of interest regarding this massive, unexplained wealth circulating in the province.
The police immediately dispatch heavily armed officers to track down and arrest Zhang.
But the physical toll of the interrogation is too much for Hikai's abused body. The wounds from the torture are too severe. As he's being transported, or perhaps while being forced to lead the police to Zhang, he dies from his injuries on the side of the road.
Just collapses.
So Hikai is dead. The chaotic variable has been permanently removed from the equation. Problem solved, right?
You would think so. But remember the mechanics of the universe we established at the beginning. This is a universe where death is just a bureaucratic state change, not a final end.
Right, the afterlife is just another phase.
Hikai dies, but his soul, his ghost, refuses to forget about Zhang.
He is utterly obsessed.
He becomes a ghost, and he immediately tracks down Zhang and Wang. He physically joins their traveling group as an invisible entity.
And here is the most fascinating, darkly comedic detail of the entire text. Death does not change Hikai's personality one bit.
Not even a little.
He was a loud, obnoxious, destructive parasite when he was alive, and as a ghost, he is exactly the same. He doesn't gain spectral wisdom. He doesn't become a terrifying, brooding phantom. He is just as annoying.
It speaks to a deeply cynical view of the persistence of character in this lore. I mean, drinking the lunar elixir elevated Wang into a powerful, capable immortal, but dying just stripped Hikai of his physical body and turned him into an invisible, immortal nuisance.
We all know someone who always ruins the night out. Yep. The guy who drinks too much, starts a pointless fight, and gets everyone kicked out of the bar. Even in the afterlife, Hikai is that guy. Because shortly after he joins their group, they have what we can call the Beacon Tower incident.
The Beacon Tower incident.
Wang, Zhang, and the newly deceased ghost of Hikai gathered to rest and drink at an abandoned beacon tower. Now, a beacon tower is a large smoke mound historically used for long-distance military signaling. They're settling in for the night, having a few drinks. But Hikai, as a ghost, gets wildly, uncontrollably drunk.
Just a sloppy ghost.
I have to ask about the physics of this. How does a ghost get drunk? They don't have a liver to process alcohol.
In this specific folklore, ghosts do not consume the physical liquid. They consume the essence, the vapors, or the fumes of alcohol and offered food. And Hikai consumes entirely too much of this essence.
He gets drunk on the fumes.
Yes, he loses all spectral control. He starts screaming and howling wildly into the dark night from the top of the tower.
Wang, the powerful immortal who can snatch souls from other dimensions, tries to physically stop him. He tries to shut him up.
But he fails. Wang cannot control him. The chaos is too potent. And this is the exact moment where the mortal legal world and the supernatural world collide spectacularly.
Oh, this is bad timing.
The worst. A passing Imperial censor happens to be riding by the beacon tower with his entourage. Now, an Imperial censor is a high-ranking, incredibly powerful government official on a tour of inspection. He represents the direct authority of the Emperor.
That's like the FBI director rolling past your loud house party.
Exactly. He hears these terrifying, wild, inhuman screams echoing from the military beacon tower.
He assumes it's a gang of violent bandits, or a madman preparing an ambush.
He immediately orders his heavily armed guards to surround and search the area. They storm the tower, and of course they cannot see Wang or Hikai because they are invisible ghosts. But they can see the living, breathing Zhang sitting right there in the center of the tower.
Surrounded by empty wine jugs and the echoes of screaming.
They violently capture Zhang.
Because of Hikai. Hikai manages to get his friend arrested by the highest authorities from beyond the grave. Zhang is now in the terrifying hands of the law, facing the exact same brutal interrogation and torture that just killed Hikai.
But this time, because an Imperial censor is involved, the case is about to be elevated to a much higher court than a local magistrate.
Zhang is brought before the Imperial censor in chains. He is absolutely terrified. He knows what happened to Hikai. He realizes that a mundane lie will not save him from a censor's interrogation, so he decides to tell the absolute truth.
A bold strategy.
He tells the censor everything. About Wang Lan's wrongful death by the incompetent ghost soldier, the stolen fox bill into the moonlight, the soul retrieval in Shanxi, and the ghost of Hikai getting drunk on fumes and screaming on the tower.
Which sounds completely, undeniably insane to a rational, high-ranking government official.
Obviously.
The censor does not believe a single word of it. The text indicates he is either in profound disbelief or outright angered by what he perceives as a ridiculous, insulting lie concocted to cover up a mundane crime. He orders Zhang to be flogged immediately. He beats him.
But the censor doesn't just leave it at a physical beating. He is a career bureaucrat. He is a man of the system. He likes paperwork.
Exactly. This is where the overarching bureaucratic theme of the narrative returns in full force, bringing the story full circle. The censor decides that if this prisoner Zhang is going to blame invisible ghosts and celestial gods for his crimes, he will officially involve the gods in the legal process.
He calls his bluff.
Yes, he writes up an official formal document, a dispatch detailing the entire bizarre case and his judgment, and he formally submits it to the divine realm.
Wait, how do you submit mortal legal paperwork to heaven? Does he mail it?
In this cultural context, you submit documents to the divine realm by ceremonially burning them at an altar. The smoke carries the written intent to the gods.
Wow, okay.
The human official literally files a grievance report with heaven to resolve a mortal legal dispute. He is formally asking the celestial upper management to weigh in on this mess.
And the incredible thing is, the gods actually reply. That very night, The censor goes to sleep in his quarters, and he has a vivid, terrifying, utterly clear dream. A golden-armored god appears to him.
This is not a low-level ghost soldier terrified of his boss. This is celestial upper management arriving to settle the dispute.
The big boss.
The Golden God delivers a final, highly structured, multi-part verdict that resolves every single chaotic thread of this narrative. It is a stunning decree that redefines the morality of the story. First, the god addresses Wang Lan. He formally declares that Wang Lan died innocently.
Validating the wrongful death claim from the very beginning of the story.
Yes. And furthermore, the god officially recognizes and sanctions Wang's status as a ghost immortal.
Wait, really?
Yeah. He does not punish Wang for stealing the fox's painstakingly cultivated pill. In fact, he legitimizes the theft. He states that the medical practice Wang and Zhang were running in Shaanxi is a divine art, and he explicitly orders the mortal censor not to judge it as demonic, fraudulent, or evil.
That is a massive paradigm shift.
It is. The Emperor of Heaven has even granted Wang an official celestial title, Clear the Way, Envoy.
So Wang got a promotion. He went from a wrongfully deceased, rotting peasant to an opportunistic immortal grifter to an officially sanctioned celestial envoy with a title.
Talk about failing upwards. Second, the god addresses the chaotic variable, Hikai.
Oh, this should be good.
The verdict here is swift and incredibly harsh. Hikai is judged as fundamentally evil, degenerate, and chaotic. He is officially banished to the Iron Mountain, which in this specific cosmology is a deeply unpleasant, inescapable level of hell reserved for the truly irredeemable.
Good riddance to Hikai.
Finally, the god addresses our naive frontman, Zhang. The verdict is that Zhang is completely innocent of any malicious crime and must be pardoned and released immediately.
Let's unpack this final celestial judgment, because it tells us so much about the underlying morality of this specific universe. Like, why does the divine court endorse Wang's actions? He stole an elixir from an innocent fox, he ran a medical scam, or he lied to his clients about who was doing the healing.
It seems contradictory on the surface.
But you mentioned this when we were analyzing the text earlier. Intent and utility matter far more than the letter of the law here, don't they?
They absolutely do. While Wang and Zhang's methods were unorthodox, opportunistic, and technically fraudulent regarding Zhang's medical credentials, their ultimate actions in the world were benevolent. They were genuinely curing desperate people. They rescued a comatose girl from a violent soul kidnapper. They didn't harm anyone to acquire their wealth. They provided a desperately needed, highly effective service.
They provided utility.
Precisely. Whereas Hikai was purely, endlessly destructive. He produced nothing of value. He helped no one. He just consumed resources and caused chaos wherever he went, both in life and in death.
It's all about the net positive.
The divine court in this narrative rewards utility and punishes pure chaos. Wang found a highly questionable loophole to survive his wrongful death, but he used that loophole to help others and financially support his family.
Yeah, and Hikai used his second chance as a ghost just to scream on a tower, get drunk on fumes, and get his friend arrested.
The heavens recognize the profound difference in their trajectories.
So the censor wakes up from this intense dream, absolutely amazed and probably terrified that he just ordered the flogging of an innocent man who was personally protected by a golden-armored god.
He must have been sweating.
He immediately releases Zhang from his chains. And the story wraps up with a surprisingly mundane, grounded, but very happy ending for our protagonists.
Zhang packs his bags and finally returns to his hometown of Lijin. He still has the remaining hundreds of gold pieces in his pouch that survived Hikai's spending spree.
Thank goodness for that.
True to his word, and perhaps out of immense gratitude for Wang saving him from the censor's wrath via celestial intervention, he takes that gold and gives exactly half of it to Wang's living family.
And the final concluding line of the text tells us that Wang's descendants used this massive influx of gold to become incredibly wealthy. They establish a rich, prosperous, deeply comfortable bloodline that lasts for generations.